Hey, for starters, just to let you know, I'm not Michelle. I'm Michelle's husband. And she has asked that I would say a couple things to give my perspective on her situation, well, our situation, to give you an idea of what it's like as the spouse of someone who's fighting, battling with mental diseases. And so I agreed to do that. And I began to think, well, what's the best way for me to tell you my perspective, my experience? And I think the best way to do that is to take you back in time a little bit to show you our beginning. Over 30 years ago, I met this beautiful, spunky, spontaneous, a little bit scary redhead. She was amazing. She was the life of the party. She was so full of joy and happy and wonderfulness that I just couldn't keep my eyes off of her. And once I noticed her, I was mesmerized, completely smitten. I loved her from that first moment. And I knew at that moment she was going to be my forever love, and I was going to do whatever I had to do to pursue her and to have her as my own. And so I wifed her as soon as I legally could. She was the extrovert, and I, by nature, was a bit of an introvert. She would say and do just about anything. It was magical. The happiest person I'd met, smartest person, most beautiful creature. And we started a life together. It was good. It was the best, mainly because of her. Had two boys. Those boys are grown now with wonderful wives of their own, and each one has a perfect little boy. So now we're a papa and a nana, and we're pretty happy about that too. We've had some good times. We've had some not so great times, probably just like everybody else. Some great triumphs, some pretty devastating defeats. I received a call to ministry, full-time ministry, back in the fall of 2000. And it wasn't anything that we saw coming. It wasn't anything we had planned for, but it happened. And it began to change the course of our lives in ways that we had not anticipated. Yet, and through all of it, we remained together. We remained constant. We remained in love, committed to each other. See, because we made a commitment a long time ago that no matter what, we would stay together. We took divorce off the table of options for us, and we said, no, we'll make it work, whatever it takes, whatever our situations might be, whatever issues we might have, we'll make it work. We'll work the problem. And we have. It's never been an option to walk away. It's never been an option to find anything else. And that came in pretty handy a few years ago when things started to change. I didn't notice it at first. I didn't know exactly what was happening. All I knew is that the light that was inside of her seemed to be dimming. The energy that she used to exude over an entire room was disappearing. The spontaneity was gone. And slowly but surely she began to change in ways that I just had not anticipated. There was no passion for anything. There was no passion for many of the things that she enjoyed doing over the years, her hobbies, her interests, and she began to retreat inside of herself until she was almost unrecognizable. It was such a change from what was to what it became that it was shocking in some ways. And I began to think to myself, it's almost as if my wife has died and she's been replaced with a clone or a facsimile of some sort who looks the same, looks almost the same, just doesn't smile much anymore, but not the same on the inside. No joy, no passion, no purpose. The truth is that it was lonely. From my perspective, it was very, very sad. It was very dark in a different way. And I simply didn't know what to do. But I always went back to my commitment to my wife, that whether it was good times or bad times, rich or poor, sickness, health, you know that I was committed to her. And I would do whatever it takes to take care of her. I just didn't know how, because I didn't know what the problem was. We'd had a series of things that had happened to us over a period of years, going back probably about 6 years now. One thing after another, family issues, medical issues, physical problems. And it all started to snowball a little bit. And it got bigger and bigger and bigger, and we began to think, well, maybe it's this series of events, maybe it's all these things that are coming together that are causing this darkness. It wasn't until things got incredibly dark that we found out some of the root causes, some of the real sources of the pain. When the diagnosis began to come in and we began to understand just how deep this thing was. And the list was impressive. Some PTSD from childhood abuse. Oh, I knew some, but I didn't know all. Frankly, I still don't know all. There was the manifestation of social anxiety, something that was just so foreign to this beautiful, vivacious, outgoing woman who had captured my heart so many years ago. And now she was afraid of everything. There was the depression. Darkest thing I've ever seen. I've looked directly into the eyes of that depression and saw nothing. Darkest, scariest thing I've ever seen. It was thick as night, and there was no fixing it. And just for fun, let's toss in a little bit of OCD just to mix things up a little bit. Repetition, doing things over and over just to make things right and never able to make it right. Now, it's at this point that some folks might have said, well, that's just enough. You're dealing with all these troubles, all these problems, all these issues, all these diseases that are real, yet no one outside of this circle understands them or even seems to care. I could have left. I could have said, enough is enough. But I said no. Because this is my wife and I love her. And I've got to help her through this. And so that's what we did. I picked her up. I carried her. And I carried everything else. You see, it's one thing to say that you care. It's one thing to say that, well, I've reached out. It's another thing to live with someone day after day after day after day and stay. She's admitted to me that she tried to get me to go, that she figured if I would just leave, if she could make me leave, then there would be nothing else to live for, then she could just take care of business. I'm like a fungus or something. You can't get rid of me. And I told her that. And I stood with her. And I never left her side. I didn't leave her side when it got really dark. When I had to hide all the pills in the house and take her keys away. I didn't leave then. When rumors swirled about why she didn't come around a whole lot, I stayed with her then. When it began to affect my career, I stayed with her then. And I defended her. And the truth is, it cost me everything. But it's a price that I would pay again and again and again because she's worth it. See, that's the bottom line. My wife is worth it. She's the most valuable thing on this planet. There's a big misunderstanding when it comes to mental illnesses from the outside looking in. And I admit I didn't know near enough at the time. There are some folks that think that, well, all you need to do is do something that'll make you happy. You need to walk it off, rub some dirt on it. It's not that bad. If you had more faith, I can tell you none of those things are true. These are diseases. These are real diseases as much as you would have cancer or diabetes or if you've got something wrong with you like a broken leg. These are real things. You just can't see them. And we don't treat them the same because we don't see the problem. And so we think, well, it's not that big of a deal. But it's a disease, and it's real. And the kind of compassion we would have for somebody who is going through cancer is the same kind of compassion that we need to have for someone who's dealing with PTSD or depression or anxiety or any other mental illness of your choice. Because here's the kicker. It's not a choice. My wife didn't choose any of these things. She didn't deserve any of these things. And yet that became her new reality. No, she couldn't just walk these things off. No, she couldn't just pray it away. No, she wasn't lacking from faith. No, it wasn't just an issue of her getting outside and making some friends and reaching out to people. This disease prohibits that. You cannot reach out to people. People have to reach out to you. Now I can already hear it. Well, I tried to reach out. Unless you did it every single day, consistently, over and over and over, in the face of rejection over and over and over. These diseases are so real and so consuming that if you cannot be consistent and walk with somebody through it, you might as well not even say anything. And so there is a difference. There's a big difference between just saying you care and daily showing that you care. Well, that's our life now. That's what it's been like for several years now. Now, the good news is that she's getting better. The fact that she's making these videos should be proof to that. She is getting better and she's amazing. I've never been more proud of her. She's working so hard and she's being diligent and she's doing everything that she should do to get herself to a place of health and wellness. I was on the bandwagon when we started. I've been on the bandwagon through the dark times, through this valley of the shadow of death, and I will be on the bandwagon driving that coach when we're victorious, because consistency is the key. She's not back yet. She's not all the way back yet, but her hair's just a little more red these days. There's a little more fire in her belly these days. I can see a little bit of the creativity coming back. I can see some of that love coming back. And I anticipate that it's all going to come back. But I also anticipate that she will not be the same as she was, that she will be better. And I can't wait to see what she looks like. I can't wait to see what the next 30 years looks like. Because I'm in it for the long haul, and we won't quit. I'm asking you, I'm begging you, for the people around you that suffer with these illnesses, make the commitment to walk with them. Don't demand anything of them. Don't tell them that they're the ones that need to reach out to other people. Don't tell them that they just need a little more faith. Walk with them through that valley. Every day, every moment, walk with them until they come out of there. I know that's asking a lot. That's asking everything. But it's what it takes. And if you really care, it's what you'll do. Thanks.